What's up, guys? Today I'm going to talk about the MG Comet. I'm super happy to see that you guys requested that I should make this review. It is not text, it is a video. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it's quick for you and you understand what I'm talking about, right? I'm not going to get too much into the numbers and the specifications because you can just as well Google them, but I'm going to give you a comparison to make you understand what the numbers signify, right? So let's get into the first thing. The maximum power of this car is about 40 horsepower as listed online. Now this, in terms of a number, may seem irrelevant to you, but 40 horsepower is very less, frankly, for a modern car. 40 horsepower is what an old Maruti 800 might have made, right? So approximately, I think, so I have a Maruti Zen, one of my, very prized possessions. It's my project car. And my car with a carbureted engine from 25 years ago makes 50 horsepower, right? So Maruti 800 around that time must have made about 40. The range is about 230 kilometers. Which is claimed by the manufacturer. It probably will be less. It might be about 180 or 200, right? The weight of the car is 815 kg, which also is very less. It's a very light car. It's fairly nimble to navigate around traffic. Again, to give you a comparison, my old Zen weighs 750 kg and an old Maruti 800 will probably weigh even lesser, maybe about 675 or 700 kg, right? Now, here's the kicker. A full charge takes 7 hours. And there is no fast charging option. So which means you can't really take this car on a long trip. You can't fast charge it anywhere else. It's not that MG doesn't give you the charger. As far as I understand, at least from my experience at the showroom, the car cannot fast charge at all. So this is something which will be purely for commute. You charge it overnight in your house or you charge it all day in your office and you can go back and forth within the city, etc. And frankly, for that, about 200 kilometers of range is enough for most people. Now, the wheel size is almost hilariously small. It's 12 inches, which is legally the wheel size for a scooty or an auto rickshaw in terms of legislation. If it's any more than that, it qualifies as a moped or a motorcycle. So that's that. Again, to give you context, the wheels on my 25-year-old Maruti Zen are 13 inches. All right, so 12 inches, about that size. Maruti 800s came with 12 inches wheels, things like that. Now, you have all seen the pictures. It is a very small car, but it is a bit unsettling in the sense, in a good way. When you sit in it, it seems like it has a lot of space. And the reason for that is the area in the front, for the front two passengers, is not at all compromised. There's more than enough space. It's the area in the rear which is compromised. Why? Because essentially the car gives you an option of either luggage or rear passengers. So there are no two spaces there. There's only one space. Either you can fold up the seats and have someone sit there. Not very comfortably, but it's also not uncomfortable. Anyone of average height like myself, about 5'9", can manage. It's decent, but you can't have even a shred of luggage. Like you can carry maybe a laptop sleeve in the space after the two seats are up, and that's about it, right? Again, to give you some comparison, the length of the car is around 3000 millimeters, which is less than a Maruti 800. The width of the car is 1500 millimeters, which is less than a Wagon R. Only slightly less than a Wagon R, and the height is approximately the same as a Wagon R at 1640 mm. A Wagon R is 1675, so it's approximately the same as a Wagon R. So that is the basics out of the way. Now, here's what I think who this car is good for. This car is great for someone who wants to just commute, run around a bit locally, right? So it's like, for me, a substitute to, let's say, having a scooter to potter about town. You can go and run errands. Or if you have a local commute and you hate and you can't take public transport, you can't carpool, which I would advise, you can buy this car. And it will still, it's not small enough that you can probably slip between lanes. It's not a bike, it's still ultimately a car. As you see, it is as wide and as high as a Wagon R. So it's still a normal car in terms of that very crucial aspect of motoring. It's only that the length is very less. So in traffic, it's not that much smaller than any other small car on the market, right? First thing is that. Now, who is this car perfect for apart from the office commuter? It's perfect for students. I would say if you as a parent is watching this video, this is a great car to gift your children because they can't get too many of their friends in it and they can't go very far. They cannot go on road trips. It's just not possible. So if you want to buy your son, your daughter a car just for them to go to school or college and come back, this is a perfect car for them to do it with because that's pretty much all they can do. If that's something that's in your mind, please go ahead. Now coming to the things I didn't like, of which there are quite a few. First of all, the car is very unstable at higher speed. And by higher speed, unfortunately, I mean even 80. All right. So the thing is, the highest speed of this car is about 105, 107 maybe, something like that. You can check it up. But at 80 on the freeway in Mumbai, the freeway that goes from Chembur to South Bombay, the car did not feel very stable. Again, my comparison is limited to the few cars that I own, of which some are very old, some are new, but even my older cars, which are 25 years old, feel more stable than this. So it is very, since it's tall and it's very light, it moves around quite a bit because of the wind and other cars, and ruts on the road unsettle it a lot. The suspension isn't as comfortable as you might expect. It's a bit crashy. Now what this means is, imagine an auto rickshaw, right? It doesn't have a lot of travel. It's not very soft and pliant. It's more, it thuds along, right? So that's what I mean, which I wouldn't have expected from especially a commuter car, which is catered to comfort and not performance. I would expect the suspension to be even softer. Again, just my opinion. So that is point number one. Point number two is the ergonomics of the car throughout are a bit bad. So what I mean is, when you enter and you sit, you will feel a sense of space because there is no center console, there is no dashboard that runs along like this, because there's no gear lever, there is really nothing there. It's just a small drive selector on the bottom, and everything else is on two screens on the dashboard. There aren't that many controls. Even the AC is, on just a couple of controls on the dashboard. The AC controls are also fairly confusing, not very intuitive. I don't know why. They do have 2-3 knobs. It's not something that's over, simplified. It's just weird, right? Another thing I noticed, I know this might be nitpicking, but it's so strange. The light switch, every car, the light switch rotates outwards, right? It's off on the bottom, and you rotate it once for parking lights and then further for the full headlights. In this car, it's reversed. And initially, it's very weird because you want to switch the lights on and you're actually putting it off. And you have to actually look over there at the diagram on the switch gear, to understand that what you're doing is wrong. And the hazard light switch, funnily enough, is nowhere on the dashboard, but it's on the roof near the cabin lights. Strange? I don't know. So that's that. Now, secondly, what I mean about ergonomics is the placement of things are weird. The screens are too close to the driver because it has to be reachable by hand, because the dashboard is also far away to create that sense of space. So what happens is the screens are too close to the steering wheel. So the steering wheel end up blocking some of the information on the screen. Now that's point number one. Point number two is the AC vents are right behind the steering wheel. So there are 2 AC vents on either side of the car, and there are 2 in the center, correct? Now when I'm sitting like this, holding the steering wheel with my hands, the AC vent is right behind the steering wheel, which is just cooling my hand and not coming to me. I feel it's a bit of a design flaw. It's not something that I've experienced in other cars, even smaller cars, older cars, etc. Right? Because the AC vents are farther along the dashboard so that they cool you more effectively. So that's that. And the biggest problem for me is this car is not meant for tall people. And I know it's sad because they've done a good job with the space, but they've not done a good job with the ergonomics. Now let me give you an example. So I'm not particularly tall. I'm about 5'9", which is frankly average. Most people, people are above 6. It's pretty common, I guess. So, I mean, the idea is it's not very comfortable for a tall person, because as much as the footwell has a lot of space, the pedals are very close to the driver. So the pedals drop down from the top of the dashboard console, and they're very close to the driver. Now this is great if you are a short lady, if you're a child, things like that. If you're an older person who not able to reach that much, it's perfect. But for someone who's tall, it's like sitting like this, right? So the pedals are really close by. The seat is also very high because there are batteries on the floor. And the steering wheel doesn't adjust for reach. The steering wheel doesn't adjust for reach. It doesn't come back and forth. It only tilts up and down. So now what happens with someone like me is I have to sit very upright with the controls right at my feet, even though the footwell is larger, and I can stretch my feet behind the pedals, right? So I can actually touch the back. The footwell, the pedals could have been further back, but the pedals are very close. The steering wheel is like this because I have to sit like this, right? And then there's air coming on my hand. It's very stupid. And I cannot recline my seat more because then I can't reach the wheel, right? And if I want to recline and move my seat forward, then the pedals are too close. So it's just weird, you can't really find a comfortable driving position. And now you might ask, what's the issue with driving upright? Fair enough, maybe I'm used to driving low slung sedans. Now, if you sit upright and drive like this, the rear view mirror becomes a blind spot. Now, this is something I experienced in this car, which is frankly very irritating because you end up sitting so upright, and it's not an issue of space. There's plenty of headroom, there's plenty of room on either side. It's just that the way the windscreen is designed and where the rear view mirror is placed, if I have to sit upright in a position where I can comfortably reach all the controls and not feel cramped, the rear view mirror is a big blind spot. And if I'm at an intersection, let's say I'm at a roundabout and I'm standing here at a roundabout, I can't see very well of the lane that's coming from the left, which is very bad. And I noticed a couple of times what happens is, if you're sitting like this and you want to drive, because the rear view mirror is a blind spot, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to go down like this, just to check if there's some biker not popping out. So that, I would say, is frankly an ergonomics flaw. So if you are any taller than me, or as tall as me at about 5'9" or above, I would suggest that you strongly take a slightly longer test drive. If you're looking to purchase this for about 10 lakhs, if you're looking to purchase this for about 10 lakhs, please take a longer test drive. Understand if you're comfortable, because initially when you test drive it, you may not realize that this is what's happening, but if you drive it for a while, your neck will start to hurt because you'll be doing this a lot. You'll subconsciously do it because you have to see, and then you'll realize that this is the issue. So that is what my recommendation would be. Perfect car for women, children, anyone who's short. The pedals are very reachable, the steering wheel is very close by. It's a great car for a short grocery run, especially if you are someone who is an older gentleman or an older lady who just wants a very simple car to roll around town, to go for small social gatherings nearby and things like that. It's the perfect car for that. It's pretty convenient, but someone like me would not be able to comfortably drive this for more than half an hour, because you have to constantly do that with your neck. So that hurts your neck and that hurts your back, because you are not sitting comfortably in your seat, you're leaning forward like this. So that's my take on it. Otherwise, MG, great job with the car and great job marketing it as well. Wishing you all the best.